Hey there, welcome to Classic Movie Gush number 13. I'm Clay Morgan with Melissa Tagg. Tonight we are talking about a movie I'm very excited to get to called Roman Holiday from 1953. Melissa, you are a fan of this one.
I love this movie. Yes, it's really, really wonderful.
It's the first time here at the Gush we've talked about Gregory Peck. And
And Audrey Hepburn.
yeah, and this is fitting because this was really her introduction to the world, Miss Audrey Hepburn, who was,
hmm
if ever there was a person, you know how they talk about someone who has it. Boy, everybody just kind of saw it, and when she
hmm
appears, it's just a done deal. Like,
Yeah.
okay, she's on the
Yep.
screen, and she's going to be a legend now,
Yep.
pretty
Absolutely.
much.
hmm
So there's so much I want to talk about in this film. Let's cover the story first. It is a rom-com, romantic comedy.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so basic story setup. Go.
Go. Okay. The basic story of this is Audrey Hepburn is a princess of an unspecified country, and she's going on a tour of Europe, and she just happens to be in Rome now. And the movie opens with her very upset about her busy schedule, and she's kind of bored with life and so upset about just kind of being restricted in her life as a princess. And so she is given some medicine to make her sleep, and in her slightly drugged up state, she ends up leaving the palace, and she winds up in Gregory Peck's company, and he is a reporter, and he sees a chance at a great story and ends up spending an entire day with her, showing her all the things she's never gotten to do because she's a princess, and taking her all around Rome. And of course, it's a romantic comedy, so they fall in love. That's kind of the basic story.
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of a reverse Cinderella
hmm
because you have the princess just trying to get. Actually, it's Aladdin. Or
Aladdin.
should we say that Aladdin is Roman Holiday, right? The princess trying to get out
Yeah, I
to
haven't
meet
watched Aladdin for a long time.
Princess
But it
Jasmine.
is, yeah, it is kind of. Only they never ride a carpet, but you know.
That's true.
And
There
there's no
are there are no magic
there's
carpets in
there's
Roman
no
Holiday.
singing. There's nobody singing. What's the song
Okay,
they sing on the
I mean
carpet?
a princess who wants to get out of the castle.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go
A
on.
reverse Cinderella. Let's stick with that. I sound
Okay,
smarter.
reverse.
The movie is directed by William Wyler, also a person we haven't mentioned yet.
No.
Now, his name is not as familiar as maybe some of the other directors now, but he certainly
Right.
was legend in his time. What do you know about William Wyler?
Not very much. Do you know anything about him?
I
Well,
do.
okay, here's what I actually do know.
Go ahead.
He wasn't the original person who was going to do this movie. It was originally Frank Capra's movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we could have been doing another Frank Capra movie this week. But Frank Capra ended up backing out for a variety of reasons, financial reasons, and then I think there was something with the writer that he was concerned about. And then it passed to another person, and it finally passed to William Wyler. And that's what I know.
You know, before I get back to Wyler, the cast was, at one point, it looked like it was going to be Cary Grant and Elizabeth Taylor. That's what they wanted.
Yep. Yep.
So we're
Yeah.
almost doing a Cary Grant
Movie
movie.
again.
But, oh,
Yeah.
Gregory Peck, who, by the way, is like the Morgan Freeman voice-wise of his day.
Yeah,
He's
this is true.
just amazing. And, okay, we'll get back to them in a second. William Wyler, famous for directing Ben-Hur, also The
Oh.
Best Years of Our Lives, which we're going to
Oh.
be talking about down the line here eventually. He was responsible. He was notorious for multiple takes and being a real perfectionist. 13 actors won Oscars underneath his direction.
Whoa. That's
He
crazy.
he was like constantly winning for Best Director. He was really recognized in his time, and this film in 1953 came kind of right in the middle of that. Now, this film was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, and
Yeah.
of course, the biggest surprise probably was that Audrey Hepburn, she won. I mean, when does
Right.
that happen?
And Gregory Peck kind of called it before she won. He actually insisted on her name being as big as his on all the posters and all the billing, saying as soon as people see this, she's gonna win. Like it's a done deal. Um, So he called it before she actually won.
My mom introduced me to this movie years ago, and it was the first thing I heard. She said Gregory Peck insisted that she be in it, and she said he knew she was going to be a star. And she really is. She just has it. I mean, she's so lovable, and she has this innocence, this impishness, and whatever they had going on there between the director and the actors, it worked really well. Eddie Albert is in it as well.
Yeah, he's great. I like
he
him.
is. He's in a lot of stuff. He's famous for Green Acres later on television. So okay, it won the Best Actress. It won Best Costume.
Costume. Yep.
Did it not?
Yep. It won Best Costume, and Edith Head was the costume designer, and it was Edith Head's birthday this week. Well, it would have been if she was still alive, but
she would have been like 100 and something, huh?
Yeah, 100 and something. But she was famous for like dressing all the golden era stars, but I think this one with Audrey Hepburn, I can't talk, was her most well-known one. And actually, a lot of people talked about how Audrey Hepburn became so big after this, and Edith Head actually got some of the credit for that just because she was so well dressed in the movie, and it like played into her character so much. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, there is a challenge, I think, and I'm sure costume-wise it was really fun to go back and forth between literally a princess set and then this kind of cosmopolitan, Roman environment. And from what I know, I mean, the 1950s were really influenced by this kind of fashion stuff. And there's a famous haircut scene. So that cute little, what do they call that?
Like a bob, maybe?
What's the word? Pixie.
Pixie?
The pixie haircut, right?
Yeah.
And it really did impact culture as far as fashion goes. So Edith Head, very famous costume designer, she still pops up in like Entertainment Weekly. They'll do like a one page spread on Edith Head. And the other Academy Award, it went to a guy. Well, actually, it went to the wrong guy. So Dalton Trumbo is the writer. Now, when I teach American history, we talk about how there was this hunt for communists in the 1940s in America. And Congress actually formed this House Committee on Un-American Activities, HUAC. And they went after people who were suspected to be communists. Dalton Trumbo, I mean, it was no secret. I guess he had been a member of the Communist Party. And, whatever, like you might think that's evil, but it was a kind of a chance for America after World War II to just not really care about First Amendment freedom for a minute. So Congress famously calls the Hollywood 10 to testify. They refuse to testify, and they're held in contempt, and they're famously blacklisted. Dalton Trumbo is the screenwriter, and so he wasn't even acknowledged as the writer of this and some other works.
Oh,
and this won the Academy Award for Best Writing. They used to call it Best Story. In 1957, it became Best Original Screenplay. That's the award we've called it now for decades. So this movie won that award, and Trumbo couldn't even accept it because he was
poor guy. Poor communist.
Yeah. By 1970, he was later on in his life, and he said a lot of people made a lot of mistakes, on both sides of the issue at that time. And he kind of accepted the fact that it was a crazy time. He had been reinstated, and all was happy. There's a big movie going to be made about Dalton Trumbo starring Bryan Cranston, who just finished up Breaking Bad.
Really?
So there's a lot of story behind the story here. And it was also filmed in Rome exclusively, which is
I think it was the first American film filmed exclusively in Rome, actually.
Okay, that makes sense.
And they purposely did it in black and white because Rome is so beautiful and so colorful, and they didn't want the actors to be upstaged by the actual scenery. So they purposely did it in black and white. Oh yeah,
so 1953. Yeah, I guess they.
Yep.
Oh, you know what else I learned? Just random little side nugget.
What's that?
The Academy Awards, where this movie was in it, was held in early 1954. It was only the second time the Academy Awards were televised. That was like the beginning of televising the Oscars.
Random.
Which is kind of a big
cool
deal
to
now.
know. Yeah.
Well, I got excited because Donald O'Connor was one of the presenters.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Cool fun facts.
Yeah, fun facts all around.
I'm learning tonight.
Okay, so in the movie, we got to talk about our favorite part. So like you said,
Okay.
she sneaks out of the palace, and she's basically been drugged so that she can relax and sleep.
Yes.
And she's passing out on a bench, and Gregory Peck finds her, and it's basically the greatest romantic comedy of the 1950s.
Yes.
That's how I'm going to sum it up.
Well, the scene where, he finds her, and that's a really funny scene, and he's trying to get her into a taxi, and that's hilarious, and he finally brings her back to his flat, and to me, that is the funniest part in the movie, when he's back in his apartment, and he thinks she's drunk, because she's pretty drugged up, and yeah, she's so hilarious. She asks him if he has a nightgown. She tells him to undress her when the
scandalous.
Yes, which is so funny. He undoes her necktie and then tells her she can handle it from there. And then at the end of the scene, she tells him, you have my permission to withdraw from his own apartment. It's really great. I love it.
She doesn't know where she is. He doesn't know who she is.
No.
So next morning, the stakes are raised when he realizes what's going on. He now has the story of a lifetime. But to finish up the storyline, they go off, and all she wants to do is have a fun day. So the next day, he takes her around, and she has her dream day in Rome, where she just gets to be a regular person. She gets her hair cut. They go have ice cream and sit at a sidewalk cafe. They go to the Mouth of Truth.
Yeah.
Which is super iconic, right? That moment.
Right. Yes. Actually, so there's a whole story where you stick your hand in this rock and whatever. Well, Audrey Hepburn sticks her hand in, and it's fine. Gregory Peck sticks his hand in, and unbeknownst to Audrey Hepburn, he had prearranged to pull a gag on her when they filmed it, and he pretends that his hand gets stuck in it. And so the scream that you hear from Audrey Hepburn at that part in the movie is an actual scream. She really thought.
I didn't know that part of the story.
Oh yeah, that's the part I know. Yeah.
That idea has been copied. I know there's a famous one in National Treasure where Nicolas Cage does it to Diane Kruger. The Mouth of Truth. It's just so funny. I love watching these two on screen together. And Gregory Peck, I think when a lot of people think of him, the first thing they think of is To Kill a Mockingbird. And rightly so. He's Atticus Finch, and we're going to be talking about that movie for sure.
Someday, yep.
But to see him, this was only one of the first few films. He got very famous very quickly. I mean, he was 4 or 5 films in, and there was no doubt about it that he was. He was on his way to Hollywood legend, really.
Yeah, but he had done, most of his roles before this one were serious roles, and he had specifically been looking for a comedy and wanted a light comedy, and I think he was quoted as saying every comedy that he read, every script that he read, he felt like it was ready-made for Cary Grant, and so he just wasn't finding good comedy roles. So when this one came his way, he finally had his chance.
Which was ready-made for Cary Grant.
Yeah, it was. And the reason Cary Grant turned this movie down is because he felt like he was too old for Audrey Hepburn.
That's right.
Like 30-some years older than her, but then they ended up doing a movie together in the 1960s called Charade, which is a fabulous movie. Only he had the same concern on that one of being too old for Audrey Hepburn, so they fixed that script and changed the script around so that Audrey Hepburn would be chasing him around instead of him chasing her around. Side note.
Look who's got the fun facts now.
Yeah, I just don't have them about the movie we're actually talking about tonight.
That's cool. I got this one locked down.
You got this one. You're bringing it.
This is what we do at CMG. We bring the fun facts.
We take turns. Yes.
Okay. You said that the funniest scene in the movie was when they end up in his apartment. That's a very great scene.
It is a great scene.
I love the scene. They get arrested. Okay, so there's all kind of mayhem. They end up at the constable's, and in order to get out of being in trouble, they pretend that they were in such a rush to get married that's why they raced all over town, causing all this damage.
Yes.
And as you watch them in that scene, it's really hard to, I think, not fall in love with the story and really. Yeah, she's just ultra magnetic at that point in the story. For me, she goes to a new level.
Yeah.
So they get married. They get fake married, and they're lying to each other the whole time. She's not telling him she's really a princess, and he knows.
Yep.
And he's
Yep.
not telling her. He's really a reporter. And meanwhile, Eddie Albert, his friend Irving, is a photographer. So he's kind of like
Mhm.
sneaking behind to get all these pictures because this is the story of a lifetime.
Right.
And as it comes to a head, there's the huge fight scene at the dance. All this great stuff happens. But what ends up happening is he has to take her back. And you really have to
Mhm.
struggle with watching these two characters not be able to be together, but not for the typical reason that romances fail. I mean,
Mhm.
there's not a big fight between them. It's not a typical
Nope.
romance. What do you know about that? Because that really struck
Well,
me.
I mean, in a way, this movie, yes, it's a romance, but it's not just about the romance. It's about Audrey Hepburn's character finally having a voice. This is, as a storyteller myself, this is what I was thinking about a lot during this movie. I always think in a story now, ever since somebody taught me to do this, is to look for what a character can do at the end of a story that they can't do at the beginning of a story. And Audrey Hepburn's character at the beginning of this story, she has no voice. She is just she's basically still a little kid at the beginning of the story that just
Yeah.
wants to be free. By the end of the story, she's firm with all the people around her. She has a voice. She says what she wants, and she goes back of her own choice because she feels it's her duty to her country. And so, as much as it's about the romance, it's also about Audrey Hepburn growing up, kind of. And so, yeah, they don't break up because of a big fight or anything like that. It's that she has her place and he has his place. And that, it's funny, they never even consider really staying together. It's, we had this day and now we're going back to our lives, but we'll always have had this day. So it's bittersweet.
It's super bittersweet. And actually, um, when you watch the ending, I was thinking about that. Like, what is this movie about? It's about identity. Like, there's one line I wrote down where he says to her, "Life isn't always what we like, is it?" And she basically says, "Nope." And she
Yep.
straight up says to her entourage when she gets back to the palace, I would have never have come back if
Yeah.
it wasn't for duty to family and country." And you think, that was probably a message that would always resonate, particularly in the post-World War II years there. And
Mhm.
it is basically watching her make a choice between what she wants and what she feels she's
Mhm.
obligated to do. So they set
Yeah.
up this incredible ending scene. I know you and
Yes.
I both were taken by
It's
this.
like the best scene ever.
So just tell me what it is about that scene that you think makes it so poignant.
Well, this last scene in the movie is Audrey Hepburn's character is talking to the press. And Gregory Peck's character and Eddie Albert's character, they show up for this. And this is the first moment when she realizes who they are and that they're with the press. And they make it what happens in the scene is she addresses the press, and the press has the opportunity to ask her questions. And so Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck have an exchange where they are basically kind of sharing their feelings without sharing their feelings in front
Yeah.
of everybody else. And it's just, oh, and the looks
And
on their
nobody
faces,
knows
it's so,
except the
yeah,
best
nobody
friend.
knows. Yep, nobody knows, but it's so poignant and it's so sweet. And then she goes out and she shakes hands with a few of the different members of the press, and so she gets to him. And again, they basically have an entire conversation without actually saying anything. And yeah, it's a really emotional scene.
It's held for so long too. When she decides to go down,
Yep.
there. One of the things about the acting in this film, and I don't know if it's just because of Hepburn and Peck or if it's because of William Wyler, it's very nothing is overstated.
No.
She's a very restrained figure. She can do more with a smirk or with a look in her eyes than almost any
Mhm.
other actress you'll find.
Mhm.
And the way they set up this long shot is that you're looking at Gregory Peck, and she's coming down, and the whole time you're wondering what is she going to do when she gets to him,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
there should not be so much anticipation in such a calm scene, and then she
Mhm.
gets to him, and then she passes him, and then everybody who watches it is feeling like you've got to just like let go,
Yeah.
just do
I
something
know.
irrational. And
Yeah.
I guess what makes the movie so memorable and so poignant is the way it ends. And I
Yeah.
suppose we won't. We've already kind of talked about it, but
Yeah, we
if
can
somebody
kind of
hasn't
give it
watched
away.
it, Still, though, I mean, I think it's still shot. I had even seen the movie before, and watching it again, it still is like, no,
Mhm.
that's just a
Mhm.
powerful, memorable ending.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty much no matter how many times I watch this movie, every single time the ending makes me cry.
Oh,
It's so great.
is it a sad cry or a happy cry?
It's a both cry. But you know what? I wouldn't change. Yeah, it's great. It's a bittersweet
It
cry.
is a bittersweet thing. I was thinking, he gives up the story of a lifetime, really the thing that is most valuable
Yeah.
to him, just for the chance. Not even so much for the chance at love. It's like he
He just does
knows.
it. Yeah, he just does it for her. It's just a complete sacrifice. There's nothing he like knows he's not going to get anything out of
Uh,
giving the story up. It's great.
so original. So I mean, we like a lot of the movies, pretty much all the movies we
Mhm.
talk about, but this one really is, I think, unique, original, so well
Yeah.
done. It's got an incredible story
Mhm.
behind the story, and it's the film that made Hepburn a star. How could you
Mhm.
not? How could you not
Yeah.
love that?
Yeah.
Check it out. We'd like to hear what you thought, what you think, what you know. Add your own fun facts, and we'll be back next week for another classic movie gush.